Well, I think I'm prepared to call this the first notable crack in James Gunn's DCU. Peacemaker season 2 finale. It's not a disaster. It's actually I'm not even going to say it's like objectively bad, but it's concerning. There's frustration with it in and of itself, and then there's the bigger picture, which the more I looked into, the more frustrated I got. So, let's try and start positive. There's some good stuff in here. As was the case with the previous episode, which I was also underwhelmed by, the emotional core of it is good stuff. Like, the actors really know how to deliver on this stuff. You know what scene I loved? I loved so much was the scene between Adebayo and her wife. Do you know how long I have been railing against the just this societal acceptance of the notion all you need is love, and if you love each other enough, you'll make it work? No! Sometimes it doesn't matter how much you love each other. What you want for your life is incompatible with what this other person wants for their life. And if you try and meet in the middle, you're both gonna be unhappy. And if you try and go one way or the other, one person's gonna be happy and the other person's not. Like, that is a very, very real thing that I am so happy to see portrayed so honestly in entertainment, because it almost never is. It's always this notion of, well, we'll make it work because we love each other. That's not always enough. Actually, I would say frequently it isn't enough. Definitely not on its own. Some people aren't good for each other. Some people aren't compatible. They love each other, but it doesn't matter. And it's a journey to come to that realization. And it's a lot of personal growth and maturity to be able to honestly say to someone, I love you, but this can't work. And to have them both say that, legitimately, I think that is one of the most beautiful love scenes I've seen in anything in a while, simply for having the balls to be honest about the fact that love alone can't sustain an unworkable situation. And to just have open communication between two people be portrayed so perfectly. Thank you. So I loved that. And the stuff with Chris, the stuff with Peacemaker continues to be really good. I still am kind of frustrated that the show doesn't really interrogate Chris, and Chris doesn't even really interrogate himself all that much for his short-lived belief that the Nazi dimension was perfect before he realized it wasn't. And while I understand why that's out of Chris's mind, because, you know, he's sort of personally spiraling, I kind of feel like his whole fear that he is the angel of death, as he said, has derailed any potential discussion about that. And look, there were some snarky dickheads in the comments last time. I try not to be argumentative, but y'all, this is a thought-terminating cliche of a point, and most of you had never commented here before, so you were just here to stir up crap, so I'm happy to stir it right back for you. There were a number of argumentative dickheads in the arguments on the last video that I did for Peacemaker, where I expressed frustration with a failure to really interrogate and expand on and really deal with the reality of a world like that. And this thought-terminating cliche response of like, the show's not about Earth X, then why bring it up? If you're not going to explore it, you didn't have to do it. That is always my thing. Like, look, there are some times, I'm not saying it's never the case, but there are some times where you're going to brush up against bigger ideas because having that bigger idea exist adds texture to whatever it is you're doing, but that's not the story you're telling, so you're going to kind of brush past it. That happens. That happens in my own writing. I'm fine with that. But if you're going to take the time to start to explore a thing, but also not explore it properly, my question to you is, why are you doing the thing at all then? You didn't have to. Nobody made you. So the show moving on as quickly as it did from all of that is frustrating to me, especially because I think Gunn has his head on correct in a lot of ways when he is examining and looking at, world situations, society's problems like that had. And part of why I said I would have wanted to see more is because I think Gunn tackles that stuff well, but he just didn't. So that I've got that frustration. But that having been said, Chris's personal spiral, John Cena performs the hell out of it, and like the reassurance of all the other people, coming around him, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so the whole thing with salvation. Now this is a thing from the comics. I think in the comics it's just another planet. I don't think it's actually another dimension, but it is a planet where like there was I think it was in the lead up to Final Crisis. There was a limited run. I never read it, but there was a limited run set on salvation where a bunch of supervillains had been dropped off. Basically, it was kind of a Lord of the Flies with supervillains kind of thing. Interesting concept. I don't know if it was any good. And I don't even know if they're necessarily setting up that as a story arc to be done anywhere, but that's where they're pulling this from. And I will say I do appreciate the one moment that I really appreciated from Rick Flag was that moment where he's explaining the plan, and this guy's like, well, that does, it's sustainable and like it's verdant and it's temperate. Like that doesn't sound like much of a prison. And Rick Flag going, I don't care about punishment. I actually like that. I like the pragmatism of that. Like you're thinking of prison in a we punish you and then re-release you into society way. Rick Flag is thinking about this in a you are gone and we never have to deal with you again way. It doesn't matter if your life is good or bad once we get rid of you. The point is you're not here. And we didn't kill you, so we get to maintain some kind of moral high ground over it. So I like that perspective. I don't share that perspective, but I find it an interesting perspective for a character like him to have. I kind of appreciate like the whole him and the people he ported over from Luthor's team. It was nice seeing Otis back. That they're all laughing it up and like clinking coffee mugs together as dead bodies are being yanked out from this dimensional door. Like I appreciate the imagery of that, but also like moments like that felt like a cheapening of Rick Flag as a character a little bit. I mean, like I get that they're doing he's falling down a darker path than he actually realizes. He thinks he's in control of the situation and he's not. I get that. I guess I just thought, and I mean, part of this has to do with him having appeared in Creature Commandos. Like I guess I thought better of him as a well, not as a person, but as a character to not just tumble head first into this kind of nonsense immediately. I don't know. It felt a little forced, a little rushed. James Gunn really is on a personal mission to revive the at least specific songs, if not entire careers, from 80s rock and metal groups, isn't he? Although I will say, I'll tell you the song that I really liked. Stop effing my heart in the ass. Added that to a playlist. That was great. Never heard that one. But if I get to my overall frustrations, my frustration with this sort of in isolation of the show, there's very few times that I give a show a pass for a cliffhanger ending when they don't have a guaranteed next season. I think the only show that I kind of let get away with that was Legends of Tomorrow, and that's just because that show had such a specific tone and levels of bonkersness that I'm like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Like that's fun to literally have it seem like everything wrapped up and then ridiculous thing happens at the very end. That was about the only show that I kind of let get away with that. Other than that, it tends to frustrate me, especially with an ending like this, because like it really kind of feels like this season didn't have a proper climax. I guess last season was the climax, or we were meant to take it as such. This feels more like an unwinding like, it's ramping a couple of things up, but like by the time the episode's done, it felt more like a general unwinding and settling of things up until we decide we're going to have a freaking cliffhanger at the end. And I did check, not only is there no word about a third season being worked on, James Gunn seems to be very heavily implying that there won't be a third season, but that Peacemaker's, like what happened to him and stuff with Salvation and the rest of it is going to be picked up elsewhere. Which on the one hand makes sense because Salvation is certainly an idea that could be utilized in the larger DCU. But on the other hand is really infuriating because, like, look, one of my hopes with James Gunn was that he would look at how Disney managed the MCU and make a point of not making some of the mistakes that they made. And look, I'm not going to say this has been the MCU's only mistake, but one of its more notable ones and one of the more easily avoidable ones was the way that they integrated especially the TV series with the movies. Because, like, the fact that there were major plot aspects or indeed entire characters who you didn't really get a proper explanation of who they were and what their deal was. And this stuff showed up in things like Stephen Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Captain America, Brave New World. They kept changing the title. Brave New World, Captain America 4. And like characters showing up in Captain America 4 who you don't get a proper introduction to. So if you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, tough. And then stuff in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And if you have only been watching the movies, you have no idea what the hell is going on with Wanda right now. Actually, even if you had seen the show, you kind of are wondering like, wait, how did we get here from where we left off? Regardless, that level of integration, it has to, you have to serve the audience you have. You cannot assume that your audience is going to take in every single thing that you do and therefore start a story in one show that you are going to wrap up in another show, a movie. Who the hell knows? Especially because if people tune into that movie or that show and they haven't watched this, they're going to be starting off on the back foot anyway. James, come on! This is so avoidable. And it was really frustrating when the MCU started making these mistakes, because these are the mistakes comics make all the time. And I understand that if you are someone who takes all of it in, it can be exciting and rewarding, but that's not a huge chunk of the audience. A big chunk of the audience find the thing that, and this is true of comics as well, a big chunk of the audience finds the characters and stories that they want and follow that. And while it can be fun to like take these characters out of the pop up somewhere else, when suddenly if you're just following this thing with the character you like, suddenly a bunch of characters you've never heard of show up, or a big status quo change happened somewhere else, it's not fun, it's homework. The MCU has become homework. Don't make this mistake this early. So, I'm real frustrated. And again, like on a general and also we set up Checkmate. Okay, why? Who cares? And I don't mean I don't care about these characters. I like these characters, but like, okay, so they founded Checkmate, and like, I don't know if that's meant to be an Easter egg just for people who recognize what the hell that even is, or if that's actually going to be a thing. I mean, it's not like I don't want to see these characters again. I do, but especially given that this might be the end of this show proper. Like, maybe these characters will show up again, but it won't be here. We won't get a season 3, it sounds like. Then what? Why? What do you... This is the kind of stuff that the MCU started overplaying in phase 4. Well, late phase 3 into phase 4. And you're starting to do it already. And that worries me. I'm not like suddenly giving up on the DCU, but this finale is a hit to my confidence. Which is annoying. Peacemaker, episode 8. of season 2. What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here. So, you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Subin Lutfulla, Andicate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, The Baba Duchess, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I also want to give my thanks to all the supporters who didn't get named because you are all indeed very nifty people. You could be a nifty person too if you go support me on Patreon, and there's the clause. Ugh.